Well, I hope everybody has had a nice holiday. Um, this time of year is always good to reflect on what has happened over the past year. And I thought I would do it month by month to try to keep it a little bit organized. So the highlights for each month for me in 2023. I have my notes here, so I'm going to be looking off to the side every once in a while. So in January, our basement renovations began. And that meant that my studio moved from the basement temporarily upstairs to our living room. Our living room was very crowded because I had my 6-foot Steinway in there, and then there wasn't really room for anything else. We comically had our TV raised up very high up, precariously very high up for quite some time, because otherwise the screen would be partially blocked by the piano. But yeah, basement renovations began in January. Very exciting. We had the half of the basement redone, and part of that half was my studio. So very exciting. That started off the year. And then in February, finally got to see Omar. This is a opera written by Rhiannon Giddens and Michael Abels. Had heard great things about it in the months leading up to the February showing that I saw in Chapel Hill. Very lucky that there was a showing nearby. And so of course I went out to see it, and it definitely lived up to all the hype. Just a gorgeous production, I have to say. The set and costumes, all of that, the staging really added so much to the production, because later I did see one where it was just the music, and I'll talk about that later on when I get to a later month this year. In March, I had my first studio recital in Greensboro, the first of many. Very exciting. Had just 3 students performing, was trying to wrangle in some adults to perform as well, but didn't quite make it this year. Maybe next year we'll get some grown-ups up there on the recital. But this year, very nice recital. Steinway Gallery in Greensboro hosted us, and we had quite a crowd. It was getting to be standing room only at a certain point. So that went really well. I was very excited for the turnout of that first recital. In April, big month for me, I turned 40. Yes, I did. Big landmark year. In some ways, it feels like I'm 40. In some ways, not so much. You know, the body is falling apart for sure. So dealing with some of that stuff, but otherwise, you just get older, and then all of a sudden, wow, you're older. Okay, moving on to May. In May, our renovation was almost finished. So we were, I think at that point, picking out flooring. That's what we were doing. So we were almost finished picking out flooring, picking out paints. So it was several months of noise. And we were living here when it was happening. So yeah, by May, I think we were ready for things to be done, ready to not have construction noise, but we were almost finished in May. In June, the studio moved back down. Sorry, I'm getting my notes are, I didn't write my notes very well. In June, we went to Ojai. In June, we went to the Ojai Music Festival. It had been a few years since we had gone in person. The last time was 2018. So in June of this past year, we went back in person. Rhiannon Giddens was the music director. And that was when we got to hear a stage production, not stage, I guess you would call it a concert version of Omar. And truth be told, did not live up to the full opera production. A lot of it is because they just kind of cut in together a bunch of numbers. It was condensed. It wasn't the full opera by itself already. Lots of numbers were taken out. So it was a little bit missing a lot of impactful elements. And of course, because it was just the singing, it was just the singing. There was no sets, there was no costumes, there was no acting of any sort. By itself, the music did not, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to live up to the hype. So really, if you can see the full production of Omar, you really need the whole thing. You need all the numbers. You need the context of the stage setup and all of that. The music by itself, especially in the condensed version, because it was tricky. They did a fairly good job. I mean, I think they condensed it correctly. I wouldn't have made too many other choices different from what they had made. But a lot of context was lost because, there's certain lyrics in there that were put in exactly the way they were in the opera, but without the full opera. Like I forgot what it was exactly, but there was this one lyric that jumped out at me, and I was like, well, do people who haven't seen the full opera understand what's going on? I don't know if a lot of it translated. So sorry, guys, the shortened version, just the musical version of the opera still needs some tweaks, but it was a premiere. So I'm sure they're tweaking it, maybe, hopefully, and getting it to a state where it's maybe going to communicate a lot better. But it was so awesome to go to Ojai again after so many years. The community there is really great, just really open to whatever's going to come. And I got to meet randomly because, oh my gosh, her name is slipping me. I can see her face. Oh, this is what I always do. Marin Alsop. I randomly ran into Marin Alsop because she was filming something with Rhiannon. I don't remember what it was exactly. Maybe they were learning how to play banjo together or something. Some kind of a promo thing where they were working together. So that's why she was there. She was just randomly there. I happened to catch her. We got to chat a little bit. And that was cool. That was cool to meet a big celebrity in classical music, Marin Alsop. And she was really, really nice and encouraging. Just, I mean, what you would hope for when you meet someone of that stature. She's just a great lady. So I was lucky enough to meet her. That was really nice. Okay. So now my notes are still a little disorganized. So now in July, the renovation is finished and the studio moves back downstairs. You can see it here, or some of it. The studio moved back downstairs and you can see it's still very blank. It's going to change a lot over the years, I'm sure. My Pasadena studio, especially in the beginning, I was like moving things around, trying to figure out where I wanted things to be, and so it'll be similar here. It's gonna metamorphosize over the coming years, but here it is. Okay, now my notes are a little bit more organized again. I don't know what happened back there. The notes just kind of got, I wrote them weird. Okay, in August, I finally caught a Grasshoppers game. I've been hearing about these Grasshoppers games for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years at that point, almost 2 years at that point. And they only play in the summer season. And I had missed the past summer season. So finally I was like, this summer, I wanna catch a game. I caught a game. It was so great, so much fun. I got a Grasshoppers hat, which I have been wearing nonstop since. I mean, not today, but whenever the occasion calls for some protection from the sun, I pull out my Grasshoppers hat. So yes, I am a Grasshoppers fan now. And in September, I needed to get my piano tuned, and I finally found my go-to piano tuner here. Really great. It can be tricky finding a tuner for someone like me, because my needs are not necessarily very base level. And it's difficult to find a tuner that understands that because the majority of their clientele is just base level, just going in and getting it tuned. But I am a little bit pickier than that. And it can be difficult finding a tuner who understands that I want more than just a tuning. So I'm glad I found a tuner who's like, okay, he asked me all the right questions, and he's actually, hopefully I'm going to be able to schedule for him to fully regulate the piano next summer. I'm excited about that. So yay. Oh, my tuner's name is Benjamin Prickett. I recommend him highly, highly. One of those like just high value quality tuners who, doesn't charge ridiculously high amount, but it isn't super duper cheap either. But I would say for what you get, it's bang for the buck pricing. So Benjamin Prickett, piano tuner. In October, I had my first music salon in a very long time. I don't even remember when the last one was. It was before the pandemic, but it might not have been like that year before the pandemic. And I think it's been quite a few years since I've hosted a music salon. So I decided to do one here and wanted to get back into it. And I performed it on that guy right back there, the clavichord. It was my first time performing on the clavichord. Truth be told, I'm really glad I did it because it gave me that experience of performing on the clavichord, and I really wanted to do it without amplification. The problem with that is the performance was really tough. If you want to perform it in a setting where there's more than just like one person sitting next to you, if you have quite a group, and we had quite a group that day, it helps to have it amplified because I was noticing I was starting to revert to some of my piano technique, not clavichord technique. And so in terms of the performance, it didn't go so great. I'm not going to be doing another unamplified clavichord performance. Maybe I'll do an amplified one. I don't know. I don't know. But definitely not going to be doing it under the same circumstances. But yeah, that was the first time doing a music salon in a long time for me. That was exciting. In November, I finally got around to exploring some of North Carolina. There's a lot of beauty in North Carolina. I had been to the Outer Banks and to the beach a few times because my husband's family has a tradition of going to the beach every summer. But hadn't really done too much exploring in terms of hiking. I like hiking, and we finally went to Lake Lure, and we did some hiking, and that was really nice. And hopefully we'll be able to explore more things in North Carolina as the years go on. And so finally we are at December. I'm actually recording this in December. I think it's a couple days after Christmas now, December 27th. And you can see back here, and wait, whoa, this way. I finally decorated the studio for Christmas, if you can consider that decoration. I was inspired by, for the longest time, I sang in a church choir. And for Christmas, they would set up a Charlie Band Christmas tree for the choir rehearsals. So I'm sort of copying them. We happen to have a Charlie Brown Christmas tree randomly. I think it was maybe a gift from a family member. And so I set it up in the studio this year. Studio was decorated for Christmas for the first time ever. First time ever. I never even decorated in Pasadena. So yes, these are all the highlights from 2023. Of course, to keep it real, I mean, not everything this year has been fabulous, but I wanted to focus on the good things that happened in the year. I think it is important to step back and take a look at some of the things that weren't so great, just so that people don't feel like, oh, her life is so fabulous. Nothing bad ever happens. And well, that's not the case. It's just that people, I think, like to focus on the positive. They want to have a positive message to send. But like I said, just to keep it real, I mean, not everything this year was fabulous. I'm probably not gonna get into any of the details. I'd rather not. But, you know, there's been some death in the family, and some loss of friends, lost some great students. Not that they died, but like, you know, students come and go. So I've had, you know, some students leave where it's like, oh, it was so great working with them. But, you know, sometimes it's time for them to go or take a break or something like that. So we've had some of that happening. And as far as in my business side of things, I try to push myself to have a little bit of pressure to meet some certain benchmarks, some certain goals. And I really wanted to add a certain number of students this year. And I haven't been doing well towards reaching that goal. So that hasn't been great. You know, just things, yeah, not everything is perfect. And I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. But I also don't want to end this on a sad note. So let's end this by talking about things to look forward to in the new year. I am really looking forward to my second studio recital, which I am still hoping, still planning to hold here at the studio in the garden because we have a really nice large backyard garden. To prepare for it, we cleared out the area because the area where I was going to have people just, I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it still. We have some chairs that we can set up, but maybe people will be sitting on blankets. Maybe it'll just be standing. But I had to clear off some area for that because the area I'd planned for it had a lot of ivy. So we cleared it out. We tried planting some grass. Unfortunately, we tried 2 times. Every time we planted grass, I guess we didn't plant it well enough. I don't know. We waited a little too late in the season. It was always right before a big rainstorm. So the grass is not growing evenly. There's like bunches of grass and some bald spots. We'll see how it looks in the spring when I plan to do the studio recital, but that's the big thing that I'm looking forward to for my studio next year is doing the garden recital. Hope it's going to turn out okay. I still need to get some equipment for moving my instrument out, but I had already planned to wait to do that until the new year because I've been spending too much money this year. I mean, the renovation was expensive, so yeah, of course. Well, that is it for my year in review for 2023. I just wanted to put this together as sort of a Christmas card. I mean, post-Christmas, but sort of, you know, just a catch-up thing with you all to let you know what's been going on in my life. I would love to hear what's been going on in yours. Let me know and let me know what you're looking forward to in 2024. So here's to a Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye.